right here in this room. And I want to talk about this in the sense of a quantum soul. Because from a shamanic worldview, which I am persuaded by, we are not a soul in a human body. We are souls experiencing a human life. And at every point, we can make choices, how we react to a situation. And so a wise person once said, it's fantastic to speak many, many languages, but sometimes the best of all is silence. How do we bring our higher self into this equation in our dowsing practice? Get our ego out of the way. Well, I got tripped up on that 2 minutes ago myself. And how do we develop an energetic literacy where we start to recognise what it is that impacts on us in a negative sense? Because there's a lot of drains going on out there. Yeah? Anyone who's read the Celestine Prophecy or things know that all this is going on. And these other egregores are all kind of it's all competing. And you can go into a room, you go into a room, you're pretty energised, and you can be so flat in 2 minutes, can't you, on occasions. By developing our own energetic literacy, we can start to do it. In shamanic, we call it about being powered up. You power up, yeah? And I've got the motto here, the KISS principle, I'm calling it, which is keep it simple, super one, if possible. When I started out many years ago, 40 years ago, I was a salesman for a short time and used to do public speaking for Salesmen with a Purpose. And that motto then was keep it simple, stupid. But that was more of their ethos than ours, I think, yeah? If I can talk about them and us, which is quite difficult, actually, because we're not different, yeah? And if you want a good meditation practice, try sending love and compassion to certain people in the world at the moment and see how that goes. It's quite challenging, but it's very rewarding, yeah? Quite challenging. So I'm talking about quantum consciousness expansion. Now, I'm not going to talk about all these techniques. You can see them winding through there. You're all literate. You can read. But any one of these in combination or practice is very, very useful. Now, the reason I raise it here is many people, many of us over the years practice these things, and then life gets in the way. Work, family, just general worries. Well, why bloody bother? You know? But through practicing on a regular basis, things start to change. And I've found in my dowsing practice and other things that really interesting things start to change, particularly if you're working with otherworldly energies or clearing houses which are got deeply embedded ancestral energies or spirits which are not yet to be released. You get a different richness of communication because it's all based on compassion and love. You know, I got asked a couple of years ago now to do a clearing. It was a pretty heavy situation, actually. I don't know why this has come up at the moment, but I'll share it anyway. It must be useful for somebody in the room, I suppose. Where a house had been subject to a whole heap of kind of dark magic for all sorts of reasons, which I won't go into, obviously. But the woman who employed me wanted me to carry out a Catholic clearing ritual. Now, I come from a Catholic background, and I have a lot deep Catholicism. I have a lot of time for John of the Cross, the suffering bit mostly. Suffering is redemptive, my son, said the priest to me all those years ago. Well, when I looked up these rituals and practices, it was all about banishing. It was all adversarial. Whereas actually, love and compassion are going to get us a lot further down the track with whether it's an entity or it's any situation, and to feel genuine compassion. And I won't go, I mean, I don't do so much these days, but I won't go to work if I don't feel right. Yeah? I'll have to do it on another day. So in this sense, I want to talk about how we might just take this into consideration with our own lives and how we might apply this to increasing our skill in our art. Now, we mentioned earlier, once again, Bob, I'm very thankful, set up a lot of beautiful, beautiful segues for me, thank you. DNA, which needs good water. See the mitochondria, yeah? At the moment, we only talk about 2 activated strands of our DNA, when there's actually 12 strands of DNA. And in esoteric thinking, we can undertake a whole heap of various exercises guided meditations or ongoing work, which can actually reprogram our DNA to be able to tap into a whole heap of information which is out there in the Akashic fields, it's out there in the quantum universe. It's believed that DNA is carrier of various light codes in some circles. Yeah. Now, I approach a lot of this, I spoke about skepticism earlier, I think there's a difference between a skeptic and a cynic. Right, like Oscar Wilde said, a skeptic questions everything, whereas a cynic knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. Yeah? Pretty good definition, Oscar Wilde, bless him. Yeah? And I think in this sense we can approach these with an open heart and an open mind, and through dowsing in our practice we can actually test the hypothesis. Yeah? So I'm not laying down any holy oil here. I wouldn't dream of that in such esteemed company, but I'm just throwing it out there as a suggestion that we can connect to these higher energies. So assuming this premise is getting any resonance, to what extent can we then be different? Let's assume we're practicing regularly, we've got some spiritual sort of practice which is keeping us grounded, we're not getting caught up in the fear, our iPhone hasn't put its clamp around our head too much, as that earlier graphic suggested. How can we then use dowsing as a form of quantum activism? Now, this phrase has been coined by others. I'm just looking at it in a little slightly different way. Now, I won't go into this today because this is a talk and a workshop in its own right at some stage, perhaps, if there's interest. But it follows a similar set of principles that we do if we're doing remote healing or clearing, with the proviso on this, because we always ask for permission of the spirit of place. We do not assume that we can walk into any situation and do anything, and quantum dowsing or quantum inquiry works well on that. So it's the same sort of thing, clear intentions, initiating protocols, connecting with the quantum field to identify key influencing layers, and looking to shift energy and intentionality. Now, when we talk about this in a quantum sense, there might be 100 things going on in that place. That hurricane may have happened for a reason in a quantum universe or a multiverse. We think about it on the human impact of it, and so we should, because that's where we're operating, but there could be lots of reasons, and if we enter it in a different way, we may be able to get some more insights and help. In the multiverse, following string theory and multidimensional realities, mythical creatures, so-called, are not mythical at all. And we know from our own experience, some of us, from Davic energies and working with elementals or fairies or wherever it may be. And no doubt Alana will cast much more light on this later on with her marvellous expertise and insights. And it opens up all sorts of possibilities. It opens up possibilities for us as dowsers to investigate these worlds, which is an invitation I'm throwing out there, because if we can reinvigorate some of these so-called mythical worlds, it might just bring a bit of magic into ours. And then some of you may have heard me speak about this before. I think I've done some presentations to the side on this, about how we expand our cooperation, which I call beings of the subtle realms. Now, I know this is a stretch of imagination, but if you can't do this on birthdays amongst friends, when can you do it? Well, we've got to stretch ourselves a bit. In and through dowsing and quantum dowsing, we can start to connect with beings of subtle realms, higher off planetary intelligences. How many in the room, can I just get an indication, how many people believe we're alone in the universe? Anyone? How many people in the room, just as interest, a bit of an aside, but I'm just coming to close. How many people know about starseeds? Oh my goodness. How many, if I could get an indication, I don't want to give too much away, believe that you've got some starseed in you or you're not quite from this place? Oh my word! Hello family, there we go. All right, beautiful. So this enables us then to open up to all sorts of possible connections, whether they be mermaid, dragons, fairy realms and elves. And over the years, I think when I launched my practice, it wasn't understood because I was offering the opportunity to connect with all of these realms through these methodologies I've developed. But it's a pretty hard sell, yeah? Also, of course, working with our ancestors' energies and drawing to a close now. My proposal is that we use this wonderful moment, this 40th birthday, to reflect on our practice as Dowsers, where we've come from, what a part of a great tradition we are, and to look at how we deepen our connection with our home planet, a quantum connection. And I have a proposal. We need something to do, which is going to raise us above the mire into which we've all sunk. Yeah? And I know that this has been done in part in little segments around the place, but I'm proposing, and I'll get a seconder, that would be fantastic, that the Society and other dowsing communities in Australia consider undertaking a full-on dowsing survey of this country, Australia, which is amazing and has yet to be discovered from an energetic perspective. Now, I understand, of course, that there's a whole series of extra layers of complications which we need to be very, very aware of connecting and getting advice from our Indigenous brothers and sisters who've known this land for much longer than we have. But there is work that can be done in conjunction and together to uncover some of those things. Now, I feel that would be a kind of a gift to the community and a gift to the world going forward if we could get some sort of map of what's going on with all these various lines. You know, we're talking about sacred geometry grids, Schumann resonance, earth fault lines, harmonic lines. I don't know if anybody's done any work around that when we start to bring in the karmic and the spiritual lines. Reconciliation could be a very important part and parcel of this as we develop an understanding. And that is basically what I had to say, other than our map of what we said at the beginning of dowsing and what the possibilities are, gets a bit bigger. Activism, alliances with beings of the subtle realm, working collectively, dive deep into Australia, be the change. And remember, the power of dowsing! Woo!